today I'm truly in the company of someone who needs no introduction, and I'm saying this for two reasons. One, because I sincerely mean it. Our guest is instantly recognizable, and secondly, because I really don't know how to introduce this dynamic lady. She's always been in the public eye. She has achieved so much. She has never shied away from controversy, and she has definitely lived her life her way. A model turned actor, turned producer and director, activist, RJ, blogger, volleyball enthusiast. You get my predicament, yes? Good. Therefore, I'm just going to welcome my guest and ask her to kindly tell us who she is today. Please welcome the one and many, Aisha Alam Khan. Hello, how are you?
Good morning, Huma. It's wonderful to meet you, first of all.
Finally.
Finally,
how are you?
I remember when we were doing the only other English breakfast show, and when you guys switched over and you became like the only English channel, they're like, damn, they got this one, yeah. But good job, by the way.
Thank you very much, Aisha. But we have been watching you for a while now. We've been following you. So as I asked, who are you today? What are you doing?
Well, that depends, I guess, on which day you speak to me. This morning, because it's volleyball day, so I'm going to go home and sort of message all the club members that tonight we've got games going on.
Okay.
So today I'm a volleyball enthusiast, of course, wife and mum.
Of course. Which in itself is a full-time job.
That is a full-time job. It is a full-time job. And it's kind of fun trying to manage all those things. I'm also an activist today as well. So yeah, all these things keep. I think all of us. I'm sure you as well. We all have different facets. You all. It's what you believe in, and you follow what you believe in.
But there are not many, Aisha, who can do everything at the same time. I mean, they have to.
Don't try this at home, kids. Don't try this at home.
I'm glad that you gave that warning, because don't really.
No.
I mean, you have to give up something. But one thing that you are truly passionate about, and you can forego everything else, but not that.
The freedom to speak the truth.
Okay.
The freedom to speak the truth. And I think especially in today's world where we are in Pakistan, it is so important when you have things going on like you can't speak about the blasphemy law. And yet you have clergymen coming on television and misrepresenting the Quran. मतलब वो quote कर रहे होते हैं कुरान को, and बीच में से they'll leave out or omit certain ayats.
Yeah, but Aisha, would you go on air and please don't use this platform today, but would you actually, you wouldn't be deterred by it, you would actually go out and speak your mind and...
But isn't that our responsibility? Isn't that what we are here to do? I mean, anyone who's in the media, that is their place.
Okay, yeah.
I think anyone who doesn't do that is being highly irresponsible, and you're seeing a lot of irresponsible programming happening because you need to go out there, you need to speak the truth, and our first and foremost job, especially as media people, is the truth, and the facts, and I think that's really, really important to cover that.
Absolutely, and then now it makes sense what you said. I was reading one of your interviews, and you said that I plan to bring some serious changes to our society. So serious changes, and how do you plan to go about it?
By speaking the truth. There will be one change. I think we are so used to just going, हाँ जी, हाँ बिल्कुल ठीक. Everything's quite all right. We have no problems here. Pass the coffee, please. We've got to get beyond that. Start looking the truth in the face and doing something about it, making changes, making decisions. And the funny thing is, I think all of the people who are viewers of the English-speaking channels, all of us have some kind of contact with someone influential. So all of us are influential within our spheres of life.
Those 5 degrees of separation.
5 degrees or 7 degrees of separation, however you want to put it, and use that. But use it for good. Don't use it because you want to have your taxes exempted or because you want to have to import a car and you don't want to pay duties on it. Use it to make a positive change.
Absolutely.
And that's something I feel very passionate
about. I'm going to ask you this because, like yourself, I've also made that switch. You have been working in Urdu, media for a very long time.
लोग भूल गए कि मुझे उर्दू भी आती है.
हाँ, बिल्कुल. लेकिन अभी नहीं बोलते because ये तो I'm sure people know that we do. And then you switched over to the English. You were in Dawn.
I didn't switch over. The thing was, I was working at FM 89. I did an English show over there. I was doing a radio show. And when the other channel opened up, I'm not going to take the name because I know you probably don't want the competition sort of being plugged here.
लेकिन अब तो no competition.
अब तो competition नहीं है, the only English-speaking channel. So when Dawn, then they asked me and they transferred me over for the morning show at that time. So it wasn't a matter of switching over. It was just a matter of the opportunity came up. And it's a language that I am most comfortable with. So I said, fine, why not take the opportunity?
But it was obviously new. I mean, it was see, in terms of viewership, suddenly from millions of people looking at you, listening to you in one certain language, and then you cut yourself down to maybe thousands, or maybe if you're lucky, 1 million. So that in itself is a shift.
For me, it's never been about the numbers. It's never been about how many follow. My
but it is also it is about being heard.
Well, for me, it was about doing what I believed in. So I thought an English channel would be a good idea. I think it's a good idea because English is a universal language. A lot of people watch an English channel because they think the content might be a little bit more intellectual. Or
and is it?
Well, for the most part, yes. Yeah.
Do you see the difference, Aisha? Now, we have seen so many writers, journalists, some big names as well. When they write in Urdu, newspapers or something, it's very different.
Yes.
And I'm asking you this because you and I ourselves, we have worked in Urdu medium. We are now in English as well.
There's a very distinct difference.
Shift.
Yes.
Do we suddenly cater to a different audience and our tone, our stance?
See, that's what I've never understood.
Changes?
I mean, if you have the same people who can do good stuff in English, why can't you take that content and do the same thing in Urdu? Why do we have to dumb it down? You have a nation that is unfortunately mostly illiterate.
Okay.
Therefore, it is the channel's job to raise the benchmark. If you can do the same, if you can give good content in English, do the same thing in Urdu. Do we have to dumb it down constantly? You know, this whole guji, boo, boo, on morning shows, please. You know,
but there's this fear that it will not be accepted for some reason. So you have to not dumb it down, but tone it down maybe, or change your stance a little bit. At least we have seen that happen.
Make it commercially viable. Make it a little bit more palatable to the masses. That's fine. There's no problem with that. But give them intelligent content. You know, don't assume your audience is that stupid.
Right. Okay, so morning show is one thing. Then because this is your recent work, so we shall talk about it. No Reservations you were doing as well. A very hardcore interview based, but a fun show as well.
Yeah.
And by the way, I should mention here that show was initially started by my present producer Tez.
Oh really?
So he was the one who actually set it up, created it, and everything. And Aisha, when you took over, how was that? I mean,
well, it was fun because I was watching interview shows in Pakistan, and I noticed a lot of the time people don't do research on their guests. It's very sort of normal. Haan ji, so what are you doing today? And you know, and so I decided, well, you know, if it's no reservations, that means answer without any reservations.
True, of course.
So then I started calling up, and of course, because we all know each other, so you call our friends, what's the gossip, what's really been happening, and then, but you also have to be careful because you don't want to necessarily tear someone down either.
Of course. You have to make them comfortable.
So you have to make them comfortable.
Open up.
Exactly. So sometimes with the guest who is perhaps hedging, I might be tougher on them. Someone who's very open, I'd be like, okay, great. So they're coming out and they have no bones about, you know, sharing whatever. And that was fun. That was fun. And the kind of information that would come was fantastic. I mean, thank God I had so many people who were willing to share information with me. Some of it I would use. Some of it I wouldn't. That was at my discretion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who has been your best guests who really talk? And I can understand everybody, you know, you're all friends in that fraternity.
Yeah.
But seriously, somebody that you had a great time with and you bonded well and it was a good show.
Gosh, there were so many because a lot of them I'm very, very friendly with. For example, Auntie Maheen, you know, Maheen Khan.
Okay, yeah.
She with Sajid, and Sajid is a hoot. And the thing is, when the camera is off, you tend to get sweeter stuff. And I wish we could keep the camera rolling throughout.
I know, I feel that.
You know, I'm sure you probably feel that as well.
Absolutely, I get that.
Then of course Mishi and Nadeem came on once, and Mishi mimicked people. She's a great mimic.
Okay.
And she had us in splits throughout the show. Saad Haroon and Danish, they came on. They were fantastic. Yeah.
The one person, Aisha, that you have not interviewed, and I can understand that you'll have to rack your brains because you have absolutely
I would love to have
to
Nawaz Sharif, and I would love to have Zardari on my show.
Oh, lovely.
I would love to have
What would you ask Zardari?
So do jets really fly in for you to Islamabad? That's all I want to know.
Good fun.
You know what I mean?
Good fun.
Yeah, that's all
and
I want to know.
sometimes you go abroad for just the weekend and nobody knows. That would be interesting as well.
Just a little question I'd like to ask him. Yeah? Nawaz Sharif, I know. I would love to ask did he get the hair transplant?
Of course he did.
But to hear him say it,
हाँ.
that would mean the world.
हाँ,
Sir, आवाम ये जानना चाहती है
कि आपके बाल कहाँ से कितने के लगे?
बिल्कुल, हाँ. And whose money was it that was spent on it? ये भी बताएं.
Interesting. That would be interesting. Lovely. Okay, somebody, and I have been asked this question. I have a ready answer for that, so I'm going to put Aisha on the spot. Somebody, anybody that you thought was the most difficult person to interview, who wouldn't speak or whatever reason.
Actually, I remember there was someone, and I was really annoyed. In fact, I told my producer, "Jhoot bol rahi hai. She's not answering my questions." But you can't obviously say that to the guest. And I swear to God, for the life of me, I cannot remember her name. But I remember there was one person, and it was a lady.
Okay.
That's all I remember.
Chalo.
Because there's so many guests that after a while, I'm sure like in 3 days you only remember I was on the show. They all become like a
No, I'll remember you because we have wanted you for a while here. I'm going to mention a couple of your other stuff because we have short time and we really want to cover what all you have done. The VE monologues that you did, your performance at one time with Jane Fonda in Mumbai. You have been quite an activist, a theatre person. Would it be right to say that that is your true calling, where you actually connect with the people, you know, who are there in the audience?
I absolutely love theatre. In fact, now very good friends of mine, Umair Rana and of course his wife Myra. Umair I actually met on my show on Breakfast at Dawn, and because we both have this fantastic love for theatre, so we kind of really connected well. And I'm so grateful to have met him because of him I managed to do some theatre last year in Lahore. So yeah, I love theatre. If that's my real calling, I don't know. I'm an extremely passionate person as it is.
Okay.
So and I have varied interests. For example, I'm a total net geek. I love you know phone apps and stuff.
You're a blogger. I mean, we have been reading your blogs as well.
Well, every now and then. I'm not regular as I should be. And that's generally because there's just so many other things going on in my life that it's hard to. But yeah, when something fires me up, then I'll get back on the blog and start sort of typing out again. I would love to create apps, but the problem is, you know, people who, for example, I don't know if you know, building apps in Pakistan, the telephone operators or the service providers, you would think they would want app builders on their list. They pay less than iTunes does. So app builders in Pakistan can just, you know, submit their apps to iTunes and they're happy. They're doing better than they are with local service providers. And so there's so many areas that you can kind of get into and do so much with that you kind of wonder, gosh, where do I start?
Yeah, but that is so amazing. Some people actually spend their whole lives trying to find out what they truly want to do. And here you are, Asha, sitting
I'm still trying to find out.
Yeah, but you still are doing so much in the process.
Because I'm trying to find out, you know, what do I want to be when I grow up? I hope to find out eventually.
One passion that has stuck with you, and I've been told, is your volleyball. And you actually have a club.
Well, we started, actually, we came to Lahore about 2 years ago. And we came just for Ramzan. And in Karachi, there's this traditional thing, we have a Ramzan volleyball. We play every single night, and there's a big, you know, hullabaloo about it.
It's like Ramzan cricket for a lot of people.
Yeah, okay, well, there you go. Now, when we came here, there was nothing to do but go out and eat. And I was like, you know, what do you guys do for like fun activity? And there was nothing. So we started volleyball at a friend's place, and we did that for about a year. Did really well. Continued playing for about a year. And then it became very sort of, you know, if you're my friend and I know you, then aaja volleyball khelo. And I felt like we needed to sort of expand it a bit, because sport is something which is a great equalizer.
Of course.
And the thing about communities in Pakistan is you find, you know, if you're in Gulbarga to friends, you'll talk to each other. If you're somewhere else, you kind of, it's becoming
there's a little bit of a division.
You know, and people are not talking to people. And sport is a fantastic way to make communities interact with each other. It's a great equalizer. It doesn't matter whether you ride a motorbike or whether you come in a Prado. It's what matters is your skill on court.
Absolutely.
And that is something that I really, very strongly believe in. So then we started a club, and now we've got kids from, you know, different colleges. They're coming in. They're fantastic players. We've started a league now, which is great. We're looking for sponsors, obviously, because now we need, because right now we're doing it on my own initiative, and we take, you know, whatever. But to take the sport further, we're talking to a few people. Let's see what happens.
So anybody who's like watching us right now can also join in if they are enthusiastic
clubvolleylahore@gmail.com. Email me. And
lovely. We are going to put it up with Asha's permission on our Facebook page, and let's see how many people you get. Asha, we are going to close this down, but I really want to ask you something. Now, one of our mutual friends, and your namesake, I can give you a hint, asked me to ask you what happened on the 14th August wala show while you were, it was, I suppose, last year. She said just ask her and she would know.
Was it the one with Nadia Jamil? Is that the one that she's asking
Probably.
me?
I don't know. Something happened while you were... Anyway, if Aisha doesn't remember, I will definitely ask her.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is also one. Aisha, something that you feel is one thing, in the end I'll ask you, something that is very, very needed in today's Pakistan.
Islam needs to stop being misconstrued. You need to stop having, if a clergyman is coming in the media, from a banned organization I might add, and quoting the Quran, can someone at least make sure that the quotes that they are giving are actually correct, and they are not ghadapoing ayats in the middle just to make their point. I think that is so needed, because we are heading towards extremism that needs to be dealt with very, very sensitively, and it needs to be done by people who actually know what they're talking about.
Are you going to, are you planning to start some, I don't know, campaign to actually get this going? Because I understand a lot of people believe that they wanted, you know, say that as well. Please don't misuse it as well. Don't use it where it is not
I think there are a lot of people working on this right now. There is a group that is actually coming into play. So that's all I can say on that at this point.
I'm glad that that's all you are going to say, because let's, you know, keep this show going. Yeah. Harsha, thank you very much for coming here. I wish we had more time to discuss a lot of other things, but I'm just glad that you came.
Thank you, Huma.
We here at TMS have highlighted quite a few PR companies, and we have more or less come to the crux of all that this business is about, namely the client and what the client demands. Now, with so many such companies in the market, how would you tell them apart? It's easier than you think. There are only a precious few of these companies that have realized the importance of the consumer. Now, today's consumer are different. They want more from brands. They want to experience and see for themselves why they should invite a certain brand and product into their lives. The J&S company have proven to be the leading experiential marketing and event management agency in Pakistan. They are in the business of helping clients build their brands as well as relationships with their consumers, employees and business influencers. Please welcome the J from J&S, Jalal Salahuddin, along with Sana Bhatti. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good to have you guys here. Sana, you are here for the first time. Jalal has been on the show before. I'm going to put you on the spot and ask you what is so different about J&S, and why is, and it is rightly so, the biggest PR and media management company, but why?
Well, I think the reason is because we've been around for a long time. You know, 10 saal pehle there was no event management. Our company is going to be 10 years old from the 31st of December this year. So I think we've had a lot of experience. We started in Lahore and we've done work all over Pakistan. We've worked in Karachi, Faisalabad, Islamabad, Rawalpindi, Sialkot, Lahore, everywhere, all over Pakistan. We've done work in India, we've done work in Dubai, etc. So I think, I think being one of the pioneers has helped. And so the more experience you have, the better you get at it. There was a time when, you know, my partner Umar Sati and I when we started the company, we were running around lifting tables and chairs. There was no idea of event management. It kind of just formed on its own over the last 10 years. Now, 3 weeks ago, Sana and I were discussing in the makeup room before we came here that we had 7 events in 3 days in 3 cities, and I was only at 1. And you know, everything is being managed. So I think it's also about putting in systems in place. We're going through corporate restructuring now. You know, we are putting it's all about managing your human resources. And many more people want to do this job. Sorry, I just want to say one more thing, which is very important. I think the big change, which is also very nice for us, it's inspiring in a way, is that when we started doing this, I was doing banking, and I left banking and eventually started a company by accident. And at that time, everybody wanted to be a lawyer, they wanted to be a doctor, they wanted to be a dentist, they wanted to be a banker, and or you know, you went to NCA and you did something artistic. Now, so many people, we get hundreds of you know, emails throughout the year that we want to do an internship, we want to do event management, we want to get into the creative side, into the business side. So I think also we have many more people willing to do this.
Absolutely. I think you guys kind of paved the way for it, opened it up for everybody else. And now that people see other people like yourself flourishing so much in it, although I can imagine the hard work that must have gone in the past 10 years, but people are really now beginning to see the good side of it as well.
And now people are beginning to see it as an industry. Before, people were just like, yeah, you know, these people are just event managers, we're going to hire them. Oh, why do we need event managers? Now people also, consumers also, they really want somebody to take that headache. So, you know, the industry, and they've been, you know, they've set a benchmark for everyone.
Okay, so now what exactly do you do for J&S?
I'm handling the public relations and the media at J&S. So it's like a separate department now. We have clients, we cater to our clients, we deal with their public relations, their brand development, their brand identities, and also with their media connections.
So that's interesting. So the company keeps building up. I mean, when I met you last time, Sana wasn't there. Now Sana seems to be a new addition, so things are progressing.
That's right, and I always like to bring sort of people working in the company onto the different shows we get invited to all the time, because it sort of shows the different areas of work that we do. So everybody's doing specific things. If somebody's handling operations, they're doing that. If somebody's doing social network marketing, then they're doing that. And PR, it's a different area. Weddings is another area. We're launching now budgeted weddings as a separate brand. So that's a new area that Sana is actually working on as well.
Okay, that's interesting. Please do tell us, because I think masses would like to to know, if they can get the JNS label on a very budgeted scale as well.
That's what people, when we go out in the market, people say that, oh, we have somewhat, I don't know how, but we have this certain image that we're very expensive. So we want to break free from that image and tell people that bring us your budget and we'll work around that.
Okay.
And we'll do your event, we'll do your wedding around that budget.
So basically, do you have any programs for that, or any budget that people, they say, "Acha, itna hai hamare paas and this is what we want"?
Well, there are two ways of doing it. From the experience that because you see, the very large high-end events, the big weddings, many of them come to us. A lot of them come to us. And we don't really need to pitch for those, because people who have very big budgets, they automatically
come your way.
They come our way mostly. So we don't have a problem with that. But for the smaller budgeted things, now people want to spend a few 100,000 rupees on their wedding. They feel maybe JNS is not a company that we can afford. So for them, what we've decided to do is launch a new brand.
Okay.
That has been in the making, and we've been doing soft sort of experiments with sort of budgeted weddings over the last couple of months, in fact over a year now, and we're soon ready to launch it. We're already doing work with that brand name. It's called Jashan.
Okay.
And it's because it's got a J and an S in it.
Okay.
So it's just like Giorgio Armani and Armani, Emporio Armani, or Armani Exchange. It's the same concept. It's a subdivision of the brand, and we have a very definite package. This is the kind of food you'll get. This is the stage you'll get. These many flowers. The photography will be like this. You'll get an album. You can get your card printed. This is the extra cost. Yes or no, you decide to do it.
So by going down on the budget, you won't compromise on quality, would you?
We won't compromise on quality, but we can't do a 32,000 square foot air-conditioned space with 500 flower arrangements in that amount of money. That's a JNS signature wedding. But a Jashan wedding, it takes all the elements that people associate with the glamour and the beauty and the sort of, for lack of the word, extravagance maybe, or style of a JNS wedding, but you can get it within your budget, because I think ultimately the budget matters, I mean, you can, even in fashion now, for example, you can go and get a very, very beautiful evening outfit for your wedding or for your sister's wedding, but if you're going to an engagement or a dinner, you may go to the same design and buy something for 15,000 or 12,000.
But Jalal, you will also agree that people now have become very brand conscious. So the J and S wedding, a budgeted wedding, might not have the the full bloom wedding thing going on, but it has the J and S.
It has.
So there's a lot of brand thing going on as well.
Absolutely, and we can't not give them the quality and the finish that they desire. Of course, we're very vigilant about that, because that's why we've been experimenting with it for the last almost 2 years. Slowly with different clients, quietly, and now we're ready to come out with a product.
Okay, what's the product?
Jashan.
Okay, this one. Okay, I thought there was something else coming on as well.
Well, alongside it, we also started a catering company in Lahore.
See, I knew that. You guys keep coming up with new things. So there is this catering thing. And that, I think, would also go back in your business, because you do need caterers.
Yeah.
So that makes sense. Why didn't you do it before?
We tried doing a restaurant, which didn't work out, called Dish. So from that experiment, we moved the kitchen, and we have been doing catering quietly for some time. And now we have a catering company called Zaffron. So we've done lots of interesting caterings like Sania, Mirza and Shoaib. Also many big corporate events for different banks, and lots of weddings and all kinds of things. Parties, cocktails, all kinds of different things.
That is so perfect that you guys can actually experiment with things, and then if they don't work out, you can, put it around as well.
That's why we're now doing little tests before we launch everything, because now we want to be very cautious of what we're doing, because the market is so competitive that we want to be cautious, and we want to take our each step at a time.
All right. Okay, now any one of you can answer me this. Now there's so many events taking place, and a lot of other PR companies as well. how do you decide what you have to do? Do you also refuse people?
Well, we sometimes do, absolutely. If we feel that we can't provide what the client wants, or there's a disagreement, or there's a or you know, it has to do with the budget or anything else. But usually we accommodate people, because I think the point about doing business in this field is to accommodate people. You know, 6 years ago, 5 years ago, we could do a lot of very big events because there wasn't a security concern. Then security became an issue after, in 2007
of course.
onwards. You know, bomb blasts started happening. I mean, there was a time when we did the Bryan Adams concert, 14,000 people in Karachi. To do a 14,000 people's concert with a foreign artist now is next to impossible. It may happen. It may happen. I think things are improving a lot. But so things change. So you always have to accommodate clients. We usually don't like to say no. And we've learned to accommodate clients. Let me put it that way. But sometimes, yes, you know, if you have too much work, you may have to pass something.
And we have a lot of variety in clients. Like we have doctors that we're catering to, then we have clothing brands, then we have fitness clubs. So, you know, that's why, you know, it doesn't get monotonous. So we have a different set of way of working for each and every brand.
True.
So I think it keeps interesting, you know, keeps it very interesting.
Events is one thing, okay, I can understand that they are events, and one event, it's a successful event, it's over, then you're done with it. But how do you build a brand? Like when people come to you guys and they say, okay, this is something that we are launching, and of course there's going to be a big launch, but what afterwards?
Well, let me give, I think maybe we both talk about this, because we just recently, about 10 days ago, this is a good example. Because when we let's say launched Porsche, or we launched Jaguar, or we launched Emaar, which was the biggest in terms of
construction,
spend, in terms of spend for just a 1,800 people's event, sit down dinner. It was the biggest event in terms of money spent. You know? They spent a lot of money.
This must be before the crash in
That's
Dubai.
right.
Okay.
That's right. So I mean, those events are meant to be big, and you can play around with the money. But we recently, which is a company that we do PR for also, Sana does the PR for it. We did a launch for Uthoy, which is a local t-shirt company.
Yeah, we had them on the show.
And you had them on the show. I think thanks to Sana.
Okay, yeah, thanks to Sana. See, that's the beauty of these people. They also provide us with a lot of guests, and that's why we can bring them to you. Okay, so that's how you...
So they've just started a store, and they do sort of socially sort of aware activist kind of t-shirts with very, very funny kind of slogans on them, and they're very interesting. And also 50% of their profits go to charity, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting brand, and we just opened a store. So we thought, you know, what could we do with their budget that could create the sort of, you know, the brand value for the brand, and also get people to come to the event. And we had to do it in a mall, in the atrium of a mall on MM Alam Road. And we had about 150 college students all wearing Uthoy t-shirts, 5 floors up as you walked in. We had a huge banner up. We had 3 sort of photographers doing fashion shoots and editing them live, putting them up on Facebook with lots of accessories like sunglasses and feather boas and things like that.
I think we all saw.
And we had Quadrant do a live drum
which was a flash
set,
mob,
which was like a flash mob that came in. We had Asma Jahangir, who's the president of the Supreme Court Bar Council, to come in as a chief guest. We had, you know, all the top journalists. Yeah, exactly.
So because they're very socially conscious brand, you know, so we wanted somebody like that to come and just, you know, inaugurate the store. And also we did a flash mob, which nobody has done in Pakistan before at such a huge scale, because, you know, people don't have a concept of flash mobs and doing an activation for a brand on a launch. I mean, launches are happening every single day, you know, so we wanted to give it a different twist and make it into like a brand added value to the brand.
So how far would, because it is a competitive field, you know, any other
even a shop
company
launch has to be something different.
Exactly. You know? So how far would you go? Okay, so this way for Uthoy, okay, we get the idea of a mall there. You could accommodate the people. You could do a lot of stuff, but limited spaces, and you still have to, you know, put your brand.
People.
Exactly. You still have to assure people of the quality that your brand is associated with. How do you manage them? How far would you go?
I think we have, the other thing is, if you come to our office, you must come sometime whenever you're free. We have a big team now, you know. We have a creative department where people are making 3Ds. There are people doing every single thing is sampled, executed, whether it's a brand related thing like a backlit sign, or it's a new piece of furniture, or it's a DJ booth, or anything like that. You know, the 3Ds are made for every single space that we do. Any spatial design is absolutely, you see the 3D, I wish we actually shown that on TV, but you'd see a 3D and then you'll see the actual. And you'll see that it's, you know, it's
from
so
concept
close
to reality, how we brought it.
What we conceptualized. So, you know, that requires skill. Then we have a lot of people in operations, we have people in finance, we have people doing the costing so that it's cost competitive for the client. We have people, you know, who are doing PR and marketing, and people in the creative department. So all our departments are divided.
Is that a recent addition, Jalal, for you to be hiring a lot of people for all these specific duties?
I think we always were hiring people, but I think it's taken us time, and through trial and error, we've created a company where the human resources are properly divided and are getting, you know, people are doing their jobs better because they know exactly what they're doing.
Exactly.
And so that is the key to your success,
and
because it's a service-oriented industry.
If I may add, I see that difference in this company than a lot of other companies, because I guess you would know, because you started off 10 years back, and when you start off, you really want all of the things to be under your control.
That's
because
right.
it's yours, you started
That's
it off.
right.
But now that you've established it, you can let go of some of the responsibilities.
You can let go of things. I mean,
and you can delegate, and it's also that, you know, coming back to when you were talking about how we build a brand. So it's basically that we get a brief from him, we sit and we discuss the idea, and then each certain department, he delegates it. And then we take it on from there, and then at the time of the event, it all comes back together.
True.
So
Okay.
that kind of coordination has become very easy because we have each set department for
And you
different
must
things.
all have to get along well with
Yeah,
we have to get along well.
That's
and
important.
also, for example, there's certain things that, like, for example, if I need a presentation for a brand, we have somebody who monitors what we call traffic in the office. So I need to call that person or send him an email and say that, as does she, as does anybody else, 8 or 10 other people in the office, and we say that, you know, when can we get this? Just because I'm the boss, that doesn't mean I'll get it on the next day. But now I got an email last night at about 12 o'clock at night. People were still working office at 2 in the morning because they had to send some presentations on.
Okay.
So they said, no, I'm sorry, Friday is the day you'll get what you require, you know, what you asked for. And I can't do anything about that. And I don't, because it breaks the way we divide things up. And people need to have the authority. And I think you're absolutely right. The most important thing is to be able to give up your authority.
True,
to
absolutely.
hand things over to people. Like even this launch that we did recently, the one we were talking about. I mean, I just gave a creative brief. I wasn't there. I was in Karachi for a meeting, Islamabad for a meeting. And I arrived the day of the launch. I came in when it had started, just for half an hour. It was all done. And they did a great job. And because we're delegating.
Lovely, lovely. That's an example there in itself. But that is the difference. It's a full, you know, blooming company. One last thing I really want to ask you now. You know, again we were discussing, there have been so many security issues, terrorist threats, so much happening in the country. How do you move on with events? How do you move on? You know, things. People are still coming to Pakistan, still wanting to launch their things. What is your sense?
I think that two things are happening in Pakistan. I think that it's interesting. There are people like us, like yourself, sitting here on an English language news channel talking about things, you know, happening in the economy, and everybody's doing something. The media is free and all of that, and people are. So that's a positive sign. On the other hand, you know, bombs are going off. Foreign investors are not coming in. So things are static, but they're also not static. And I think both things are happening. Companies like event management companies, where security may become an issue for certain big events, have adapted. You know, because we feel the need to adapt. Because don't forget that I think over 100 million people are under the age of 21 in Pakistan. There's such a huge youth culture developing. Look at Coke Studio. Look at events people want to go to. Look at brands like these t-shirt companies that are coming up. Anything else? I mean, there's a whole urban youth culture. I was reading day before yesterday that a study was done, in 37% of Pakistan is urbanized. That means 37% of our population, almost 65 million people, live in cities now. Out of that, 35 million, 40 million people are young. Okay, so those young people need an outlet. Hence event management companies, hence restaurants, hence cafes. So the service industry is the only one that's grown. So I think that we have to keep on growing.
That is encouraging, that even in troubled times, the things are happening.
We do have a little bit of hiccups here and there, but we somehow manage it because, you know, we have a certain brand name. Yeah.
Pakistanis are very resilient.
Well, that is, Pakistanis are very, that is very true, but so is your company. 10 years is a long time. Thank you very much. I'm sorry, this is the time we have right now. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
For coming here, and best of luck. Hello. All right, quickly, I've been told there is no time at all, so I'm going to dive into the quotation now. And today's quotation is by a very famous Hollywood actor, and he's talking, I guess, from his own experience. It's going to be on your screen very soon. It's interesting. I like it. Warren Beatty says you've achieved success in your field when you don't know whether what you're doing is work or play. Doesn't it happen sometimes that you enjoy your work so much that it doesn't feel like work at all? Well, that is when you are really successful. Yeah. So enjoy it and give it out to somebody else as well. This quotation word for you now, and I picked up this word again like I usually do, you know, while reading something. But the good thing is that this is a very usable, handy word. Everybody uses it. It is articulate. Did we roll drums? Well, I thought we were rolling drums, but anyway, please roll drums again. The word of the day is articulate, and articulate means to utter clearly and distinctly, pronounce with clarity, or using language easily and fluently, and of course having facility with words. I have a couple of examples for you. She is a very articulate woman, always knowing just the right way to say something. Another one, I don't know how to articulate my feelings, they were just beyond words. So this is the way you could use these words. Just relax, have a cold drink, and seize the day.